I know the Batman is in post production now, so they're piecing it all
That's
together. So
really excited for that.
I'm excited for the Batman. I think it's going to be.
It's gonna be.
I think it's going to be really good. I'm hoping it's going to be good.
I would be surprised if it's not like my favorite Batman movie.
Right.
Just like looking at the style of it,
Yeah.
I think they're gonna lean a lot more into the detective like route, and that's always been like my favorite aspect. Like, especially like I think of like the Arkham games and the animated series.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's like my favorite kind of Batman.
Yeah.
And it looks like they may be leaning more into that, which if they do, it might end up being my favorite Batman movie. Well, I mean, or at least my favorite Batman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dark Knight will, always be probably the best Batman movie. But
yeah, because I know. Hey, that's the thing, and that's the thing too. We've only had one trailer so far, and that trailer came out in what, October, or was it November?
Maybe in October.
And so, because it doesn't come out until 2022. So we probably, well, it's supposed to come out this year. And then again, with COVID pushing everything back, and now it's coming out in March 4th, 2022. And so we probably will. Oh, I know what we're doing for your birthday then.
Yep. Heck yeah, that would be freaking out sweet.
And then I know it's so we'll probably get a second trailer later this year, probably like later this summer.
Yeah.
Or maybe in the fall. And then just a different,
hopefully.
And then we'll just get a bunch of TV spots here and there. But what are your thoughts on the movie?
On what movie?
On the Batman.
I'm really looking forward to seeing their like adaptation of the Riddler.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he looks pretty interesting so far. I mean, his look's definitely a pretty big departure from like anything.
Well, I think
seen in the comics,
which I'm completely fine with.
I don't care. That's the thing. Like, the Riddler's one of those characters where like I don't really care so much as to like what he looks like,
right?
As much as like how his character is portrayed. You know what I mean?
Well, I know in this movie his character, or at least not his character in general, but like the Matt Reeves' idea of the Riddler was based. I think it was based off the Zodiac Killer. I think is what it was.
Man, if that's the direction he takes, that's going to be really sick.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really. And so I prefer the look. I mean, I don't know if his outfit will change throughout the movie or what, because you see him in that one outfit at the beginning of the trailer. But I'm fine with that outfit. I think it looks, it's creepy.
It looks pretty cool.
But I don't know if you're going to get a question mark Kane and top hat.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think you'll get that.
That's always been a little bit more. This movie doesn't look like it's going to be quite as like. I don't know. It's not. It's definitely not as campy, I would say.
Yeah.
So, I don't see them like going full Riddler with the outfit.
Yeah.
Which I don't really mind. Now there are certain characters where I would like them to look a little bit like their comic book counterpart. Like, I mean, obviously the Joker, but like I don't know, Bane. They took a pretty big leap with Bane, like in
The Dark Knight,
Rises.
Yeah. What's your? I thought that was a pretty good name. Yeah, it was a pretty good name. It made sense for that world because it wouldn't have made a lot of sense to have it all venomed up and everything.
Definitely, very different from the comics, but it fit the world of the Dark Knight trilogy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it did. It did.
But I've always wanted to see comic Bane. Because I mean, even there are aspects of Tom Hardy did do a little bit of research, and Bane is like a brilliant tactician and strategist, and I mean, like, just through like those abilities, he's able to like find out who Batman is. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think the Riddler knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman in this movie, or do you think that's?
I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see because honestly, I don't want him to.
Right.
Because
I always kind of hate that too a little bit. I understand sometimes it's the movie, but sometimes I don't want the villain knowing who the hero is and all that stuff.
And it's not necessarily just because it's kind of tired. Like, I feel like in every superhero movie now, it's like, oh, the villain knows they figured it out. You know what I mean? And it's not just because of that, but also if you look at the comics, that's been one thing at least, because the Riddler is very he thinks he's I mean, he is very smart. He is very smart, and he thinks he knows he's very smart. But that's been one thing that Batman has always held over his head, that you don't know who I am. You think you're so smart and you still haven't figured out. And so it like infuriates the Riddler that like he can't figure it out, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I've always liked that,
Yeah. And then I know this is year 2 Batman. And so I know Matt Reeves has talked about how I think he mentioned how some of Batman's rogue gallery is already kind of out there. So I'll be interested to see on like
the Penguin.
Well, Penguin's one, which I know. Well, in the movie, I think they call him Oz, but because I think he hates being called the Penguin in this movie. But I think.
Oh, okay. Well, see, that's kind of funny. Like if they do something like that.
Yeah, but I think he might embrace the Penguin aspect. Cause I think Carmine Falcone is in the Batman, and so if he dies, I think there'll be like a power vacuum in Gotham, and Oz will kind of grab a hold of that, and then people will start referring to him as the Penguin, and he'll be fine with being called the Penguin. I will say this: I know it'll be kind of random, but I would love to kind of. But it's happened in some aspects, but like I would like to see. Well, I don't think in most aspects, but other than the Gotham TV show that was on Fox, but like I would like to kind of see an interesting relationship or like friendship with the Riddler and Penguin.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, because like in the TV show Gotham on that show on Fox, like 3 or 4 couple of years ago, like they had a pretty unique friendship with one another in that show. Mm-hmm. So I'll be interested to see if they do something like that. I doubt it, but yeah, I know.
And it's like Penguin is power.
Yeah.
He holds power. I mean, not himself as a person. He's pretty like,
he's
scrawny and weak, but like he has power in that he's, a crime boss. And, he pretty much runs the underworld in Gotham. And then you have Riddler, which is all brains, and like he's the brilliant, mastermind behind all these riddles and traps. And then, it's kind of an interest. Like it's a cool partnership there.
Because I kind of hope that we get hints of like the other Rogue Gallery members that are out there. Not because like obviously, because Matt Reeves just said a lot of this. Matt Reeves just said is like these characters are in their origin. They're not they're not who we've accustomed them to be just yet. I think obviously you have like the guy who's I forgot who's playing Riddler, but they call him Edward Nashton, I think is the name in the movie, but instead of Edward Nygma. But like I hope they just do like quick mentions of like say there's a serial arsonist around Gotham, which is Firefly. Like that. Yes, it's like you don't have to show these characters, but I would like to at least know that. If you throw out a reference of a Rogues Gallery member, that I'll catch it and be like, oh, okay, so this person's probably like Firefly, for instance. You probably wouldn't call him Firefly just yet. You would just know there's a serial arsonist going around setting buildings on fire in Gotham, and then eventually he will become Firefly. So that kind of thing. Obviously you have Catwoman, who will be in the movie, but she's not Catwoman just yet. So really, it's like this movie is all about setting, not so much. It's about the origin of these characters, but it's not giving you the whole origin story of these characters.
Yeah.
So I think I'm very excited. I have really high hopes, and that should be like. I think there's gonna be a trilogy. I don't know what I want from the other two films, but I know this movie is pieced together from The Long Halloween.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you saw, but they released a trailer for that part one of that movie.
I would love to see a movie if they do that and they build kind of like this unseen, Gotham underworld with all these like referenced characters.
Yeah.
And I mean, every now and then show one or two. I would love to see it at some point, like in a movie based around some kind of like a storyline similar to Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
Where we've got all these different rogues that you can encounter and like that we see in battle and something like that where the asylum gets taken over or something like that. I think that would be cool to see something like that, like live action.
And then a lot of people have started to like wonder if we'll see the Court of Owls in this trilogy, which goes in line with what the corruption in Gotham, because a lot of it, the Court of Owls is kind of behind a lot of the stuff that happens. I don't know. I guess it would be pretty cool to see like the Court of Owls in a movie-based format. But I wouldn't really worry too much about it, because you can just really just turn them into a cult.
That's the thing with Batman. It's like you've got so much, lore that you can explore. Like it's hard. I'm sure it's hard for the writers and the director like to come up with the stories to tell, just because there's so much. There's so much to.
Well, and also like obviously, I would definitely want them to do. I would want them to bring in characters and villains that we haven't seen just yet. I don't want to see a Robin in this trilogy. I don't want to see a sidekick at all.
I don't. I mean, I've never cared to see, like the Robins in live action. I mean,
I've
never been a huge Robin fan, to be honest.
In Dark Knight Rises, I was very surprised I love how Christopher Nolan did it in that movie, because you had what was his name? Because he played Officer Blake. I think
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yes, because like you had like watching that movie, I was like, oh, this is just a guy, and then at the end of the movie, where he picks up that bag from that woman, and she's like, oh, you should go by your other name, Robin, and then I was like, everybody's like, what? Like, if it's subtle like that, I'm completely fine with it, but I really don't care to see the sidekicks in this trilogy. If there is to be a sidekick, I would want Batgirl probably more than Robin, just because
I would almost, if they were to do any kind of sidekick, I would almost want it to be something where like whoever it is has already kind of established themselves as a sort of like vigilante in Gotham, who is kind of like, say they're pretty like reckless and they're getting themselves into trouble that they can't get themselves out of, and Batman has to swoop in and kind of save the day and is like, hey, you can't be doing this stuff. You need a teacher. You know what I mean? If they were to approach it like that, like where Batman doesn't necessarily like seek them out, but is almost like, I need to keep you out of trouble.
Yeah,
that's how they kind of end up working together.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's like in comics and some adaptation where like that situation has happened. I think in what was it? I was watching something. It was a while. It was a long time ago. It might have been The Batman, the TV show that used to come on the CW.
Yeah,
I think that situation happened where like that TV version of Barbara Gordon was kind of like, and I think the Batman the animated series Barbara Gordon was the same way, that came out in the early 2000s, where like they weren't necessarily Batman's partner.
Yeah.
But like Batman was there to help them out if they got into trouble.
Yeah. So, I feel like that makes the most sense, honestly.
Yeah. So, like I said, if they bring in Robin, cool, great. But I don't really care in this trilogy of Matt Reeves to see a sidekick. I would rather, what I want is a character building with this Batman and Bruce Wayne, because obviously he's not where he needs to be when it comes to the ideal of being Batman. So, because what I want is for him, and another thing too, which I don't know if I hope they don't. I started getting into this thing where like I guess because it's a mental thing to me, but like it's like I don't want to see them kill these villains. We talked about this in WandaVision. We talked about this with Agatha Harkness. It was like, well, luckily they didn't kill her, but like, just I don't know. I just would like.
Well, I mean, it's definitely an overused, like trope in superhero movies, I think I mean, I would love that they didn't, for the exact reason of like what I was saying earlier, if they were in the future able to do some kind of movie where you don't, I mean, you don't have to dwell on like any certain villain. Maybe there's one overarching like main villain, but like a movie where there is like some kind of Arkham breakout or something like that, where Batman has to wrangle up all his rogues gallery, like something that like that would be sick to see live action.
Yeah. I don't know how long this movie is. I think it's probably going to be about probably close. It's probably just to be a little bit over 2.5 hours. I would assume it will be. But because we still haven't seen Andy Serkis as Alfred.
kind of heard him, I think, in the trailer.
Yeah, you hear him in the trailer, but we just haven't seen him yet.
No, I'll definitely say Batman, just in the little we've seen of him fighting, is like brutal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I remember watching that trailer the first time, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm pumped!" Like super pumped. That whole interaction with him and the thugs.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. My theory is that those are like Penguins guys. A lot of people were like, "Is that Joker?" Like, I don't think it's gonna be Joker.
I don't think it is.
I don't think they're gonna. They honestly, I could totally see them. Not that I would love it, but I could totally see them not even getting into the Joker with the Batman series.
But I think
you have to is what I'm. My train of thought is like you can't have Batman without some at least acknowledgement like that he exists of the Joker. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I would. People, I would. I think because that's gonna be a big money maker.
Exactly. Well, it's not. I mean, it's not even just that. Like the Joker is the like. I mean, he is the arch enemy. Yeah. You know, he's the most famous villain of all time.
Yeah.
And he is the like antithesis of Batman as a character. You know what I mean?
He would definitely need to be the end of the trilogy if you're gonna do Joker. I think
I think so. What I think might be cool is if we say we go into this movie because this is year 2, right? You say we go into this movie and Joker is name dropped. Like Batman's already fought the Joker. Say he may have had this big, standoff with the Joker in his year 1 career or whatever, or maybe, and we're consistently giving more references to him throughout like the first 2 movies, and then the third movie we get him as the villain. He's broke out of Arkham or whatever. I'm going back to that.
Yeah,
broken out of Arkham, or he's back in some form or fashion, and Batman has to take him down, and this time it's so much worse than before or whatever.
Yeah.
I think something like that would be cool.
Yeah, I just think if you're gonna do Joker, you should probably just throw you can't even do breadcrumbs because like if you do something that's kind of Joker related, people are automatically gonna know it's a Joker. But I mean, if you can probably do a little bit of things here and there where like maybe Commissioner Gordon is talking about it's not necessarily calling him Joker, but like there's a guy, yada yada,
Yeah, I mean, akin to like Batman Begins.
Yeah, kind of like
that.
I think that was a good way of doing it.
It was a great way.
Yeah,
like I remember movie coming out and that teaser.
And then like in The Dark Knight, Batman has acknowledged of the Joker out there. He just hasn't dealt with him.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be pretty cool. But I would love to see another live action of Mr. Freeze. I think that would be
definitely taken a lot more serious.
Than honest.
Yeah, Batman and Robin, terrible movie, but
but I mean,
because
but if you want this to be really,
Sorry, go ahead.
But if you want, but it'll be kind of hard to do because if you want this to be a pretty grounded reality in this movie.
I think they could do it.
I mean, you have to make it very compelling though.
Yeah. Look at Marvel as an example. I mean, they do pretty well with, I mean, of course, you know, later in these later movies, it's not quite as grounded, but like, I think that they could definitely do sort of an approach that makes it like a grounded take on the character. I think it's possible. I think it's possible, honestly, because his character and his character arc, especially when they brought in, because I believe, if I'm correct, Nora Freeze, that character came from the animated series, and then they incorporated it into the comics later. And I feel like that adds a huge amount of depth to his character, and also a lot of seriousness too. Like, it's his story is a sad story, and you almost I mean, you feel for him.
Well, however,
he's definitely a sympathetic villain.
Yeah, but I will say this: there is that Mr. Freeze, and then there is the Mr. Freeze in the Batman that came on the CW.
Yeah.
Where, like, in that version, he was like he was just a common criminal, like, you know, and he got into an accident that caused his. I would want to see. I would love to have the regular Mr. Freeze storyline with Nora, but I want the design of Mr. Freeze to kind of look like that Mr. Freeze from the Batman TV show. You know, where he's completely encased in ice, and he doesn't need like a freeze gun. He can just shoot ice from his hands. If it was possible to do that, I would want that Mr. Freeze. I guess I'd be completely fine if we got another Scarecrow. I'd be fine. I'm fine with that.
Oh yeah.
But if Scarecrow, he would need to be like he was in. He would need to be a minor villain. I don't think you can support. I mean, you could if you do it as a Halloween-based movie. You could probably do the Scarecrow as the main villain. Well, I feel like if you're gonna do Scarecrow, you might want to have like an extra side villain.
Again, I'm gonna come back to it. Like, the way they did it in Arkham Asylum was genius, because it's like, of course, if you're a Batman fan, you already know who the Scarecrow is.
Yeah.
And you know, as you're navigating through the morgue, and there are little like subtle hints given to you before he ever makes his appearance.
Yeah.
Like, I think when you go down in the elevator, you kind of see there's like a gas in the elevator that isn't really mentioned. And then you're walking around and things are not as they're supposed to be.
Everything's looking
see
crazy.
Your parents.
Yeah.
And I feel like something like that, like, because that's such a quick sequence in the game, but it's also one of the best parts of the game by far. Where it's almost like we're viewing it from Batman's perspective, similar to like the Mysterio scene in Spider-Man Far From Home, where it's like we're seeing these hallucinations, like the audience is almost from his perspective. I think that would be pretty cool. And then you see how he takes him on and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, but like, just have that like a quick sequence in the movie. You know what I mean?
And then you could. I'm trying to think who else. I think Scarface and the ventriloquist. That could be an all right thing. Clayface would be very hard to do. That's a lot of CGI.
Yeah. Especially if they're going a lot like a more grounded approach.
Yeah. Killer Croc, again, that's probably CGI and motion capture.
Yeah, and that's another one of those things. Like there are different adaptations. Like early on in the comics, he is just a guy with a skin condition.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could see them doing something like that where like, I mean, like they could even, I don't know how legitimate it is. I've never done like a lot of research, but I know that there was like a drug that was around several years ago, probably still is, the crocodile or whatever it's called. Have you heard of that?
No, I never heard of that.
Well, anyway, like apparently I mean, it's super addictive, but like they call it that because your skin, like, I guess gets these like rashes and kind of dries up, and they say it looks like reptile skin, and so they called it that. But like, I don't know, like some kind of approach like that, I feel like that could be kind of grounded.
That's interesting.
But yeah, if they went like not necessarily that he's, you know, a giant crocodile man, like from the Arkham games, but
because I think I'm trying to think who else could you potentially you could, but you probably shouldn't do Poison Ivy.
There's Two-Face.
You could do Two-Face. I mean,
we've had, yeah.
Which I did enjoy.
We've had
that was a good Two-Face.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
You could get a Harvey Dent in this first movie.
Yeah, I think it would work. I think Harvey Dent is definitely one of those characters that if we did a trilogy, we could introduce in this movie, and then have kind of like see kind of his fall from grace and maybe transformation in the second movie. But see, then again, that's kind of copying The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Who else? I'm trying to think what other villains that could potentially work.
That's the thing, like with movies like Batman is a character that they could honestly create a cinematic universe around.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, they could.
Like they could literally do like a Batman CU because there's so many characters, and like there's so many characters that like could have their own movie, like Bane, the Joker, Scarecrow, Riddler. They could all have their own movie, but obviously they're not going to make a movie for each of these big bads.
Yeah.
Like traditionally, they're probably going to do a trilogy, I would say.
Yeah.
Most likely.
The Joker,
they may not even do that with the Batman.
Well, I think they probably will do a trilogy because I think this movie.
I hope so.
But I mean, you're more than likely gonna have, unless something changes, unless something changes, you're probably gonna have Joker in the last in the final trilogy. Now it just depends on in that second movie where you're gonna go villain wise. That is the thing. So I know it sounds crazy, but if they can make it work, I would love to have Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. I think I'd rather just go ahead and if you could find a way to move him over into Matt Reeves' universe, I'd be happy for it.
If they were able to do that, I don't think that it wouldn't necessarily work with with the Batman because Joker is set in like the 70s.
Yeah, but 70s. you could probably retcon it. It wouldn't be ideal, but you could probably retcon a lot. I
think that
stuff.
They could have.
Again, they could bring in Joaquin. Also, keep in mind
and
too.
Have
but like also, I would also say too, like in Joker was Joaquin Phoenix, like who that's the story that story is probably made up. So it's probably not set in that time period. You know,
could
be. He could just be making.
If they did something like that.
Yeah. So you could potentially make it work like that, but I don't know. I don't know. It all depends. I don't know.
That I hadn't thought about it like that, but that might be kind of cool. Like if.
And see, that's what
if he was
because he was
introduced. Almost like say he's like introduced and similar to like in the end of the movie, he's talking to like his therapist, psychologist, whatever you want to call it. And I know it's like implied that he kills that one at the end of the movie, but say he's talking to him and like it's almost like a recap of what happened in the movie Joker, and he's like, or at least that's how I remember it, or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
And or it shows like present day.
Yeah. Or that, or if you use Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, what you could do is towards the end of the Batman, or maybe not even the Batman, not even the first, maybe the second one. You first one. Here's how I think I would set it up. Like in the first movie, I would kind of do like an after end credit scene where, you know, the news about Batman is all over the place and things like that, and it kind of like it pans in on Arkham Asylum, and it pans in on the TV, and then as it like pans out, you kind of see the back of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, just like watching the TV and seeing like constant news about Batman. And then in the second movie, he stages a break. This would be like a side note in the second movie. This wouldn't be like a main focus, but you could throw out there was a breakout at Arkham Asylum. You know, multiple inmates are out, things like that. And then in the third movie, or like towards the end of the second movie, you can again present Joaquin Phoenix coming into the scene, and then third movie you have Joker full out the entire movie. So at least something like that. I would, if I want to use Joker to be the end of the trilogy, I would want to go ahead and just kind of like put him in all three movies in some capacity. Like just a little breadcrumbs in the first two movies, and then you get the whole bread in the final movie.
Yeah, so, definitely.
Something like that. I don't know, but that's just me. That's just me. That is just me. Well, all right, boy. I think that's it. I recorded this conversation too, so this worked out perfectly. Stop that. Don't be weird.
I'm bad, man.
Oh my gosh. Well, all right, boy. We're gonna call it quits right there. I'm tired. I had to drive. I went to Auburn today for the spring game. So
yeah,
I've been gone since 10 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, I mean, I've been driving since
so,
like 9.
Yeah, so I'm tired. I'm gonna be lazy and go to sleep. And I will catch you on the flip side.
All right, bro.
All right, bye.
See you later.